Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course. Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you. Another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks. Sampler video series of videos I've been doing for a little while now. I'll go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff, I drink stuff. Then, folks, I'm gonna talk about the stuff. I'm gonna let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff. That time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not gonna lie. This is the first review that I'm doing since I went over there and busted up one of my teeth. Gotta love it. So if you happen to notice that at all, it is what it is until I can get it fixed. But anyway, folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to go over there and try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm going to yammer out about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'm in my back room today, which means we get Peter Can Thunderbolt poster. Ooh, Peter Can Thunderbolt poster. Whilst I'm doing all that, folks, I am doing something else. What is it, though? I'm wearing a super cool shirt. Folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing for today? Happens to be my my Edema shirt. Yeah, buddy. If you're unfamiliar with the band Edema, they kind of broke out in like the early 2000s period during sort of the new metal surge. They gained sort of like a little added exposure because the original lead singer was actually the half brother of the lead singer of Korn, Jonathan Davis. But to their absolute credit, they've stood on their own. They've been doing it for decades. They're a really awesome band, and I've actually been fortunate enough to see them perform live a number of times now. In fact, I actually got to see them perform literally just yesterday at the time I'm doing this. They're a really awesome band, if you don't believe me. I actually have videos of their performances that I've attended. Those videos are on my channel, just in case maybe you want to check them out. If nothing else, I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction as far as their music goes, because I think they're fucking incredible. But anyway, what am I trying for today, folks? What are we doing here? Well, originally I was planning to go out and grab some food, but we got a whole heat advisory thing going on right now. It is balls hot. Even my air conditioning is actually on, and it's struggling against the heat. So I decided, stick inside the house, look for something I could eat, and potentially review. Turns out I had something. But what is it? Happens to be, boom, from Bettergoods, which is a Walmart brand. This is their Italian wood-fired prosciutto and arugula pizza. It's a product of Italy with roasted garlic sauce and a balsamic glaze. Ooh. So yeah, Bettergoods is Walmart's like sort of attempt at like a little bit of more of an upscale brand, because of course they're known mostly for like their great value stuff, their budget brand. This is sort of them, trying the other side of things. I have reviewed some stuff under the Bettergoods brand. I've certainly reviewed stuff under the Great Value brand. I saw this and I figured, what the fuck? Now, I will say, the preparation for this one was interesting because the prosciutto and the balsamic vinegar glaze actually come separate. They're completely separate from the entire thing, and you apply them after you cook the pizza. I popped it in for about 15 minutes because it's 14 to 16, so I just split the difference. The one thing I do want to mention, though, if anybody happens to go over there and potentially try this product, while the prosciutto comes completely separate from everything else, the balsamic glaze is in a little plastic capsule thing. It is inside the plastic or covering the pizza, so it's in there. If you're not paying attention, you're entirely likely to go over there and just pop that in the oven. You're just going to end up with a bunch of melted plastic and balsamic on you. So, or on your pizza. Anyway, let's take a look at said pizza real quick here. It looks like, boom, like this. Okay. Let's get a thing for the thing here now. I'm going to do it like this. And it looks like this. And yeah, let's give it a go. I'm not as likely to do my big full mouthed ha 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 as what with the tooth thing right now, so let's try this out. Very crispy. It cooked up really nicely. Okay. Um, well, immediately I'm running into a bit of a problem because, like, I love the idea of the prosciutto, but putting on after kind of makes it less of an ingredient and more of like just kind of an extraneous topping. Like it doesn't feel incorporated into the entire thing. The balsamic I'll kind of give you. It's a drizzle basically. And I get that they probably wanted to like sort of preserve the prosciutto, if you're putting that on your pizza. I get the idea behind it, but it feels a little bit off base, I guess. The flavor on it is nice though. And to be fair, it probably does work better applying it on after in terms of maintaining that prosciutto flavor. It definitely has a rich sort of, kind of ham-esque flavor, but much richer. So that's nice. As for the rest of it, the arugula is really fairly ethereal. Like it's not really applied with enough frequency on the pizza to make a huge difference. It might add a little bit of an earthiness, but like it's almost more of a seasoning than it is like a proper ingredient. The balsamic vinegar glaze or drizzle or whatever you want to call it is pretty nice. Um, it adds in a little bit of sweetness, so you've got a little bit of earthiness, you've got the cheesiness, you've got you know the bite from the prosciutto, and then you have a little bit of sweetness from the balsamic glaze. And the balsamic glaze, like it actually does have a decent amount of flavor to it, which is good because the overall is very mixed in my opinion. For one thing, they talk about a roasted garlic sauce. Unless that shit was in another packet, I actually baked it onto the pizza. But I don't think that's the case. I think that's already been applied. Um, there's maybe a little bit of a garlickiness to it, but like it's not substantial. And honestly, the other elements like the cheese, it's one of those things like it's trying to be like sort of a high market, like niche pizza that you'd get from like a little family shop or something. I can appreciate the idea behind it, but the problem is, for one thing, it's Walmart, so you're dealing with what you're dealing with. The other thing is, you're trying to replicate that in a frozen pizza format, and you're only going to be able to do so much with that. Them using the prosciutto and the glaze separately kind of does help things a little bit, but at the end of the day, it really does feel just kind of insubstantial, The flavors are decent, but like it doesn't really come together as like a proper, fancy style pizza. Okay, two questions have to be asked. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? Um, Probably not, and kinda ish, sorta. For me personally, I like the idea. This is one of those things though where again, I think trying to replicate this in a frozen pizza format is just fairly, it's just too ambitious. Maybe if I had like one of those, excuse me, dedicated little mini pizza ovens or something, maybe I could get it a little bit better. But like, at the end of the day, it's meant to go in a fucking normal oven, right? And in a normal oven, like I said, the cheese doesn't come through. The crust was nice, and the flavors aren't terrible, but it just feels like it's overreaching, and I don't personally feel like again, it feels too insubstantial, and it feels like it's just not really a cohesive thing. I'd love to try this at an actual, like, fancy pizza place. I think it'd be fantastic, but in this format, although I'll give them points for trying, I don't think it comes together properly, even though it's not terrible. Now, if I'm recommending it, kinda. For one thing, you might be better at it putting this together than I am. I followed the instructions, but to be fair, I do know people who, they can do some pretty spiffy things with frozen pizzas. I'm not that guy. So your mileage may vary in that regard. But again, kinda, because if you're coming into it, and you are paying more for it, like it's not like it's cheap. You're paying more for it. I do feel like there's just way better options out there. They might not be quite as unique in some of the flavor profiles, but I think overall you're going to get a better pizza experience, which is ultimately what you're aiming for. If you want a fancy sit-down pizza, go to a fancy sit-down pizza place. So, 5 things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your year. Folks, go over there themselves a truly prosciutto-tastic rest of your life. Because, hey, prosciutto is delicious, Just would be better not in this circumstance. Final 2 things. Number 1, try to bring some positivity into the world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what do you do if you can't do it all the time? I know I can't do it all the time. Here's what you're going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Now, folks, it's not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me. I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful and frustrating and just bullshit sometimes, folks. When we find ourselves in situations where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important we go over there whenever possible. Take a step back, try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives, hopefully do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, here's what I want you to go out and do. Make sure that you take care of your teeth and make sure that you go over there and visit your dentist regularly for checkup intervals. This is something I could have completely avoided if I would have gone over there, not only, again, taking better care of my teeth, but even if I'd just gone over there and been more consistent with, checking in with my dentist, probably could have patched this up before it became the stupid looking thing that it is now. So, but anyway, bye.